What's up guys, welcome to the next part of our tutorial series. In this section we'll be looking at the fundamentals. What are the core things you need to know before coding an HTML page? Before we start, I just have to say this. The expert in anything was once a beginner. So guys, do not despair. You guys are going to be programmers if you keep on practicing and learning, so don't give up. So let's start. So in this part of our tutorial series, we'll be talking about tags. What are tags? We'll be looking at elements and the file extension of an HTML page and the white spaces that are included in an HTML page. The basic structure of the HTML page, we'll be looking at that as well. So let's move on. Let's start by looking at tags. Tags are basically instructions that are embedded within an HTML page. The purpose of a tag is to tell the browser where to display something or how to display something. Examples of tags include the p tag. The p tag is just to tell the browser that we are about to display a paragraph. Another example is the h1 tag, which is a heading tag. We use that to indicate that this is a heading, one being the biggest heading or the most important heading in the page. We have two types of tags. We have opening tags. Now opening tags indicate the beginning of an element, and as you can see, they have an opening bracket and then they have a tag name, and then they also have a closing bracket. They are always like this. It's always a opening bracket, the tag name, and then a closing bracket. The second type of a tag is a closing tag. Now a closing tag indicates the ending of an element, and as you can see, they always have an opening bracket, a forward slash, they always have a forward slash, and they have a tag name followed by a closing bracket. But there is another type of a tag, but for now let's just look at these two and then we'll look at the third one as we start coding. A lot of people confuse tag with elements. The only difference between tag and elements is that a element is made up of two tags, which is an opening tag and a closing tag. In this example here, we are looking at a element. Now the element being made up of a opening tag and a closing tag. These together make a element. Now in the real world we have males and females, and there are certain characteristics that differentiate a male from a female. So with file extensions, it simply defines the type of a file. For instance, there's a JPEG file, which is a type of a file. There is a .avi, which is another type of a file. So the type or the file extension tells the computer what software to use when you're opening a file. So if you open a JPEG file, it knows that it has to use a photo viewer. If you open a AVI file, it knows that it needs to open that file with a media player. With the HTML page that we are going to create, we're going to give it a file extension of .html. When we give our page this extension, immediately the computer will know which software to use. So for instance, here we named our page name like that, and then we gave it a file extension of .html. So immediately after doing that, the computer knows that, okay, this is a web page, it's a HTML web page. Now I need to use a browser to open this web page. But if you do the following mistake, which is just to name your page, the computer will not know what type of a file that is. It will not know which software to use to open that file. So you never ever leave out this .html, which is the file extension that enables or tells the computer that this is a web page and you need to open this web page with a web browser. Now, in terms of white spaces are rendered as a single space regardless of how many spaces you put in between the words. If you look at this example, you notice that we put a single space between all the words inside the paragraph. But then here we put a massive space in between. But the interesting thing is that this space will be rendered the same as this one. This will be taken as a single space, a single space, a single space. So when you look at how the browser will render this, you see that even though we put a huge space here, but the browser took it as a single space, same as with this part and with that part. So it doesn't really matter how many spaces you put in between the words, it will be shown as a single space. Let's move on to the basic structure of an HTML page. So within an HTML page, we'll always have the following code. As you can see, we spoke about this part, doc type HTML. We said that this part tells the browser that this is a HTML5 page. Now, the first part, which is HTML, tells the browser that this is an HTML page. And as you can see, it has an opening tag and it has a closing tag. So we have to close it every time or each time we open it. Then it's followed by a head tag. So as you can see, a H tag has a opening and a closing tag. So what goes into the H tag is information about the page. So it's not going to be stuff that's going to be displayed on the page, but it's going to be information about the page. When you look at what's inside the head, we have the title. The title has the opening and the closing tag. So the title is just the title of the page that will appear at the top of the browser. Following this, we have the body tag. So as you can see, the body tag has an opening and a closing tag. So what goes inside the body element is stuff that will be displayed on the page. So remember, we said that in the head tags we're going to put in information about the page, and in the body tag we're going to put in things that we want to display on the page. So this is the basic structure of a HTML page. We will always have these tags in an HTML page. We put in these tags and then we build from there. So in the next tutorial, we'll open up a notepad and we'll put this code in, and then we'll add some stuff and we'll see how this is displayed on the web page. Alright guys, let's move on to the next part, and in that part we'll be doing everything practically.